So, if you've been playing League for any amount of time, you've likely heard of this guy. If you're unfamiliar, this is Nightblue. He made a name for himself by streaming on his Smurf accounts and steamrolling lower elo players with Rengar. So when I think of this champion, it's hard for me not to think of Nightblue. But for the sake of this video, I want to remove that image from my mind and approach this champion with a completely different perspective. I want to see if this champion has what it takes to help any player at any rank get to their desired location. He is most commonly seen as a hard stomp champion for Smurfs, but let's analyze and see if he can be good in any hands when brought into ranked play. Hey guys, real quick, go ahead and hit the like button. It helps the YouTube algorithm rank and recommend this video to others, so please take 1 second and hit the like button. Also, once I get better internet, I'm going to start streaming here on YouTube on Monday, Wednesday, and sometime Saturday and Sunday. So all you have to do is go subscribe and hit that notification bell to see when I go live. Alright, let's get back to Rengar. If you're trying to find your next main or just trying to figure out how to climb to the next division to one up your friend and show that you're better, then this video is for you. Rengar has gone through some changes over the years, but his core identity has stayed the same. To put it in terms that, a 5th grader could understand, Rengar is good with kills and sucks without them. This is really telling by Rengar's passive, Bone Tooth Necklace. This allows Rengar to get a scaling bonus AD for killing unique enemy champions. Basically, he gets more AD from killing everyone on the enemy team, and that's all you need to know. But the catch is getting kills. And if you cannot get a lead on Rengar, then his passive is useless and you aren't doing your team any favors at that point. So if there's so much volatility with this champion, then why Rengar? Why should you risk your LP to play a champion that seems to have a lot of weaknesses? Well, to start, he has one of the highest skill ceilings in the game, paired with some insane pick potential. Especially at low ranks, which is literally everyone, so this applies to most people watching this, Rengar is great at catching out opponents that are pushed up too far or out of position. This also applies to keeping up pressure on the enemy jungler. In the replay I have in the background, I absolutely destroyed the opposing jungler, mainly because I was able to get a lead and then continually kill him in his own jungle. Besides having great pick potential, Rengar is just a ton of fun to play. However, this does take some time to master him because he is a very hard champion to both play and learn. But when you do, it is very rewarding. In a lot of my other videos, I talk about the importance of having a satisfying experience when learning a new champion. This can come in many different forms, but I think mastery of a champion can be the most satisfying thing, and one of the reasons this game has lasted at the top of the gaming ecosystem for so long. But honestly, that's for another video. And when I talk about mastery, I don't mean mastery like getting mastery level 7 in League. I'm talking about true mastery of the champion's abilities, power spikes, and overall game knowledge with the champion. Rengar is just one of those champions that makes this game so much fun and so satisfying to learn. He is the rare champion that can absolutely wreck shop on the opposing team if given a big enough lead. Alright, let's talk about the stuff that I don't like. The first thing I don't like about Rengar is that if you don't get a lead, you can't get ahead on him, and he's absolutely useless. You are just a little kitty jumping on people and healing them in the late game. One of the reasons why this can be so frustrating is because of his passive. I just mentioned how it's great and you get scaling AD, but it's also a double-edged sword. If you do get kills, you get a lot of gold plus scaling AD. But the other side of the sword is that if you don't get any kills, then you basically don't have a passive and your champion is just that much weaker. I know we already addressed his volatility, but that is his major weakness. He is rarely found in the middle, and if he is, it's not usually that beneficial. He does a lot of damage, or you're so far behind that your team kind of forgets about you. Another thing I don't like about Rengar is that he doesn't have a dash. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm aware of the other side of his passive that allows him to jump and use brushes, but for a new player, he might as well not have it at all. I remember the first time I played Rengar, I kept going into bushes and clicking the other side of a wall thinking that I could just jump anywhere I wanted after entering a bush. This makes him kind of frustrating to play as a new player because sometimes it's hard to use his bush mechanic, and oftentimes you'll accidentally jump into the enemy team when you really don't want to. This mechanic makes Rengar incredibly fun to play, and in most situations is an incredible passive that offers great mobility, but sometimes it isn't the most intuitive ability to use. Another thing I don't like is his W. It is good for a little bit more sustain in the jungle, but Rengar does not have the best clear and usually leaves his second buff with around half of his HP, or at least that's what I have, and I might be clearing wrong, so definitely don't take that as standard. His W doesn't help his clear much at all and is kind of useless. The only time I find myself consciously using his W is in a team fight when I'm trying to cleanse hard CC, but his normal W is pretty weak and it doesn't offer much when it comes to damage or utility. It's kind of like Syndra. In that video, I mentioned that her W is good in theory, but feels kind of clunky to use. Now, Rengar's W isn't clunky, you just kind of press it and it works, but it was even worse before his rework because at least now the Empowered W has a cleanse, but it has always been a subpar ability, especially before they changed him. The last thing I want to mention in this section of what I don't like is Rengar and his ferocity. After his rework, he can no longer stack ferocity for a full combo. Instead, his ferocity stacks up to 4 and can be built after using his ultimate or whenever he uses his ability. But the thing is that they go away when he leaves combat. I will say though that I do think this levels out his play a bit and he no longer has to worry about having the right number of stacks when entering a fight, but I wish that the skill part was still there with the old Rengar because correctly using and managing his stacks separated the good Rengar players from the novice ones. I will say though that this change does make him feel smoother to play and allows him to be more versatile as the game progresses instead of only being able to go in when you have a certain amount of stacks. Alright, now that we got through that, let's get into the good stuff. The first thing I love about Rengar is just how fun he is to play. He's an assassin that spends the whole game jumping on his enemies. I would much rather play this than the boring tanks that just got buffed. Man, if I have to play another Maokai game, bro, I'm gonna lose it. I'm just gonna sell my account. His ultimate doesn't have that high of a cooldown, so if you manage it well and buy CDR, you can just gank your lanes over and over again and also use it to catch out the ADC whenever they foolishly walk through the jungle alone. Having the ability to one-shot an important carry on the enemy team is just so much fun and it is really hard to get over. One of the ways you can kill your opponents without your ultimate is with Rengar's passive, which is the second thing I like about Rengar. You can use bushes to have a massive leap towards a champion, ward, or jungle camp. Basically, you can jump to anything you can target, and it's just a lot of fun. Having a skirmish in the jungle is crazy because you can keep weaving in and out of the bushes, jumping to apply burst damage, and then hide from damage while waiting for your cooldowns to reset. However, this isn't only good for fights and skirmishes, but it can allow you to move around the jungle more efficiently. If you have vision from any of the camps like wolves, Gromp, Krugs, you can leap to them from the bushes surrounding them. Now, this kind of is useless because you don't want to waste your ward in order to get this vision, but if you already have it, it just allows you to move around the jungle a little bit more efficiently. This can also allow you to get away if you're being chased and don't have your ultimate. You can just put a ward down on the other side of a wall and jump to whatever jungle camp is on the other side. This obviously goes for lane minions as well, but I just wanted to mention it. When talking about Rengar, it's hard not to talk about him as killing machine, but that's just pretty much what he is. If you can get a support like Lulu or Soraka on your team and you can manage to get a lead for yourself, then you can tell the other team good luck because you're just not gonna die and you're just gonna mow down the other team because you are so far ahead. His passive allows him to snowball so hard, and with the mobility from his ultimate and passive, he can continue to jump on and surprise the squishy players on the other team. Really, all it takes is one kill or a small gold lead, and you will deal so much damage which will snowball into you dealing even more damage throughout the game. One of the last things that I wanted to mention was top lane Rengar. I'm not even sure if I like this or not, but it's just something that I want to throw out there because I guess it's a thing. Top lane Rengar is kind of good, I guess I could say, because of his great dueling power and because of his synergy and the top lane with the 3 bushes. This allows him to gap close anytime he wants and CS without being harassed pretty easily. Now, his strength in the meta is pretty questionable, but a skilled laner who can use Rengar well in team fights and find gold leads and experience leads in early roams can find a lot of success with him. I wouldn't necessarily recommend him in the top lane, but if you are really focused on climbing with just Rengar, then go ahead and queue for jungle and top, and then bring him into the top lane if you're forced onto your secondary role. Now let's talk about runes and gameplay tips. So you're probably aware, but Rengar's ult is very strong and allows you to gank really efficiently. For that reason, you want to hard farm until you get level 6. Now, normally I would recommend that junglers do a 3 camp clear so that they can be ready to influence the map and take early scuttle crab. But you can probably do a 5 camp clear and scuttle with Rengar, which will allow your camps to respawn quicker and allow you to get 6 as soon as possible. And then once you are 6, you want to use your ultimate whenever it is off cooldown and farm what it is. Time your ultimate when your lanes have pressure because this is the best way to maximize your success. And if you do end up getting a kill, it'll allow you to deny gold and experience to your opponents, which in return will allow you to get more kills. Also, another little tip is that when you are clearing the scuttle crab, make sure you use your empowered E and not your empowered Q, because a hard CC will lower its resistances and allow you to take it a lot faster. Just a little tip, it'll help you with your clear. Okay, for the build, you're going to want to skip your jungle item and finish your Tiamat, and then go into Duskblade and Ionian boots for max cooldown reduction. After this, you can build lethality and whatever armor penetration items you want to, but I suggest an early Edge of Night so that you can avoid getting CC'd in those mid to late game team fights and just survive a little bit easier. Okay, for runes, I have been taking Electrocute, but if you are a Conqueror enthusiast, then you can go ahead and take that as well and go for a bit of a tankier build like Black Cleaver and Death's Dance. However, I don't love that build as the game goes on. You kind of just need to build straight lethality and damage to be effective for picks and assassinations, but if you want to just offer a little bit more utility, I guess, then go ahead for that tankier Conqueror build. Okay, y'all, that is it. As always, this has been Snowda. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.